We've pretty much probably talked this one to death today, but we'll talk about it just a couple of more minutes. You have the Welcome to Georgia folks. There's a code section that says these folks are supposed to register their vehicle within 30 days after becoming a resident of the state. Now, some of you do a good job of policing that now. Some of you just take their word for it when they come in the door, right? Sometimes you don't know about it until they come in and want to file for homestead. And then you ask that question, where are your vehicles registered? Oh, well, they're registered back over where I lived in Kansas. And then you can look back and see when they, there's ways to determine this. It's going to be up to you again to police this. When did they move to Georgia? What is your date there? But again, you're already hitting them with a pretty significant amount of money, right? They're going to have to come up with that 50% at the initial registration, pay the additional 50% within 12 months. A hold is going to go on that title. Now, are we going to have some unhappy lien holders? You betcha. And then we talked about who gets the money if the person moves. It was due in County A, so we're saying County A gets the money. County A is going to have to be the one. Now, things to think about. Will you allow multiple payments? Gratis will let you do that. Crystal will tell you if they're offering to pay, take the money. We talked about the appeal situation where they're required to pay 50% up front, and then if there's an adjustment, it will be adjusted on that final payment. So if it gets reduced below what it was initially set, their second payment may not be 50%. It may not equal the first payment. It may be something less. Grannis will provide a reminder letter to send taxpayer after 10 months. So you can send this fellow a nice little letter, hey, don't forget me, I'm here, you still owe me money. And there's no provision for interest or penalty if the second installment is paid timely. So, they just were allowed longer to pay it without any penalty or interest being accrued. Again, this is one that I think I'm okay. I'd like to see maybe amended. I'm probably okay for them to pay something when they come here, but this seems a little bit unfriendly. Lease vehicles. Today, if I buy a vehicle and I'm going to lease it, and we're talking about those leases that are usually 24, 36, maybe 48 months on a vehicle. When I buy that vehicle to lease, I do not pay sales and use tax. It's like my rental cars, because I'm going to resell that car, so I'm actually buying it for resale, so I'm exempt from sales and use tax. However, the way TAVT is written, they're going to be subject to the same title ad valorem tax rate as everybody else. However, that monthly payment I make, if I'm leasing that car, is subject to sales and use tax, and it's going to continue to be subject to sales and use tax. Also, who's the owner? The leasing company, right? So if I have a high-end vehicle, for example, that vehicle may lease more than once. So I can lease it to Mark initially, and then I can lease it to Cindy, and we haven't changed ownership. We've only changed the registrant. So there's no title ad valorem tax until I actually sell that vehicle at the end of one of those leases. Now, if I'm the lessee and I move in from out of state, guess what? I'm going to come here and try to register that vehicle. I now need a Georgia title, and I owe the tax because somebody owes the tax, but I'm the one standing in your office. So in order to register that vehicle and for you to let me apply for homestead exemption, I may have to pay that title ad valorem tax to you if I can't get the owner of the vehicle to pay it. Now, if you thought those other Welcome to Georgia folks were happy, and the problem with this one is I may pay that title ad valorem tax because the homestead exemption may mean that much to me that I want it, and I'm not even going to own the car at the end of the leasing period. Yes, if they buy at the end of the lease, they have to repay.
Kind of encourage her to lease
Because the owner changed. It went from the leasing company, which is Vicki's Leasing, into your name because you bought the car. The dealers are saying this kills leasing. It did in California. It's going to in Georgia. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I just want to make sure I understand this correctly. So I have to purchase new currency under the lease.
Uh-huh.
They have to pay the 6.5%. The leasing has to pay the 6.5%.
They don't have to. It's actually due from the owner, which is the lessor.
Getting that out of them.
I didn't say it's going to be easy.
They don't pay for us bulletproof glass.
No. But you know that admin fee that you're collecting and you're keeping, you need to ask for some of that. Clint left, so I can say that now. Yes, sir.
Hasn't there been some discussion, though, that this may get changed on these vehicles, though, for the dealers?
Yes. And I'll talk about those changes. Darling?
Is it on the full price or the residual?
It's on the full price, whatever the value is in gratis. And she's talking about the resale. Car sale, if I lease the car and I decide to buy the car at the end of the lease, they typically are going to sell it to me for a residual value, which may be less than what that car would bring on the lot. But that's not the value we're going to use. We're going to look at whatever gratis says the value of that vehicle is, and that's what we're going to charge the TAVT. Now, today, if you look at House Bill 80, the lease rate, the rate to charge on leased vehicles has been reduced to 4%, which would, in some calculations that have been done, bring in about the same amount of money that's being brought in today between the ad valorem tax that's paid over the life of the lease and then the sales tax that's brought in when the vehicle sells. So they've looked at those numbers and said, we think 4% is about the right number. Now, I just heard today, however, that they may keep the rate up here where it is, only not charge the monthly sales and use tax. Now, which one of those is going to make it through, or if any of these changes make it through?